Ambassador Valkyra stood before the massive viewing screen in her office, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The blue planet looked peaceful from orbit, its cities glowing like scattered jewels in the darkness. She had been observing humanity for 5 years now, and she found them fascinating. Violent. Yes. Unpredictable. Certainly. But also creative, passionate, and full of potential. Ambassador, the morning reports are ready, her assistant said, sliding a datapad across her desk. Valkyra picked it up and scanned the information. Humans had just tested a new fusion reactor. It worked better than expected. In another 10 years, maybe 20, they would have the technology for their first trip beyond their solar system. The Galactic Coalition would have to decide soon whether to make contact or wait longer. She smiled. She would vote for contact. Humans deserved to know they were not alone. The datapad suddenly went dark. Then it flickered back to life. But all the information was gone. Just a blank screen. Valkyra frowned and tapped it. Nothing happened. Assistant, something is wrong with... The lights in her office dimmed. Outside the window, Earth's cities began to go dark. Section by section. Not like a power failure. More like someone was turning off switches, one by one. Ambassador. Her assistant's voice was panicked now. The sensor network is going crazy. Something is happening on Earth. Something big. Valkyra rushed to the main control room. Dozens of technicians were shouting at each other, their screens filled with warnings and error messages. She grabbed the nearest scientist, a small gray being named Torvik. Report. What is happening? Torvik's eyes were wide with fear. The humans. They're disappearing. Disappearing? What do you mean? I mean they're vanishing. All of them. Look. He pointed to a screen showing a busy human street. People were walking, talking, going about their day. Then, one by one, they began to fade. Not instantly. It took about 3 seconds for each person. They became transparent, like ghosts. And then, they were gone. Cars crashed as drivers vanished. A mother disappeared while holding her child's hand. The child faded away a second later. Valkyra felt cold. How many? All of them. 7 billion humans. Gone in 3 minutes. The control room fell silent. Everyone stared at the screens, showing empty cities, abandoned homes, cooling meals on tables. Earth was now a ghost planet. Get me the Coalition Council, now, Valkyra ordered. Within hours, the Coalition's best scientists arrived at Earth. They searched everywhere for answers. They found no bodies, no weapons, no signs of attack. The humans had simply ceased to exist, but they did find something strange. Every place a human had disappeared showed the same unusual energy signature. It was something the scientists had never seen before, something that should not be possible according to known physics. Valkyra walked through an abandoned human home. A meal sat half-eaten on the table. A television was still on, playing to an empty room. On the wall hung pictures of a human family, mother, father, 2 children, all smiling. She wondered where they were now. Were they dead? Taken somewhere? Had they done this to themselves? In another room, she found a computer still running. The screen showed a document. The title made her blood run cold. They were always watching, she read quickly. It was a research paper, written by a team of human scientists. They had discovered something in the past few months. Small inconsistencies in their own technological development, failed experiments that should have worked, accidents that happened at suspiciously convenient times. The humans had started to suspect they were being sabotaged. But by whom? And why? Valkyra kept reading. The humans had built a quantum detector, trying to catch whoever was interfering with their progress. What they found horrified her. The detector showed Coalition observation posts throughout their solar system. It showed communication intercepts. It showed evidence of subtle manipulation going back centuries. Her hands shook. This could not be true. The Coalition did not interfere with developing species. It was their most sacred law. At the bottom of the document was a final note. Contingency Omega activated. If they won't let us grow, we'll grow where they can't reach us. Valkyra reported her findings to the council. They seemed concerned, but not surprised. That was when she knew. Some of them had known. Some of them had been part of this. We will investigate, the council leader said. Return to your post, Ambassador. Continue monitoring the situation. 7 days passed. Valkyra barely slept, spending her time searching through Earth's abandoned databases, trying to understand what the humans had discovered. The truth was worse than she imagined. Project Shepherds, a secret program to keep humanity contained, to keep them weak, to keep them from becoming a threat. She wanted to believe it was not real. She wanted to believe her beloved Coalition would never do such a thing. On the 7th day, the long-range sensors started screaming warnings. Ambassador! Torvik ran into her office. Something is appearing. Multiple contacts. Hundreds of them. Thousands. All across the galaxy. Valkyra pulled up the sensor data and felt her heart stop. Ships. Massive ships. Appearing from nowhere, materializing out of empty space. They were enormous. Each one the size of a small moon. Their design was angular, aggressive, beautiful in a terrible way, and they all carried the same energy signature that had taken the humans. She counted them. 500,000 vessels. They hung in space at every major Coalition world. Every trade route. Every strategic position. Silent. Dark. Waiting. Valkyra stared at the fleet surrounding Earth's orbit. One ship hung directly in front of her station. So close, she could see the strange patterns on its hull. They didn't die, she whispered. They escaped. And now they're back. The ship in front of her suddenly lit up. And Valkyra knew humanity had returned to claim what was theirs. The human ships remained silent for 3 days. 500,000 massive vessels, each one hovering in perfect stillness across Coalition space. Every attempt to communicate with them failed. Every scan came back with impossible readings. The ships existed in multiple quantum states at once. They were there and not there. They violated every law of physics the Coalition understood. Admiral Throcknar commanded the Coalition's Grand Armada. He was a soldier, not a scientist. But even he could see that these ships were beyond anything his people had ever built. His fleet of 73,000 warships was the most powerful military force in the galaxy. But looking at the human vessels made him feel small. Sir, the Council wants a status report, his communications officer said. Tell them what I told them yesterday. Throcknar growled. The human fleet has not moved. They have not attacked. They are waiting for something. Waiting for what? The Admiral did not answer. He thought he knew. The humans were waiting for the Coalition to understand what was about to happen. On the 3rd day, every communication system in Coalition space activated at once. Televisions, computers, personal devices, military channels, everything. A voice spoke in perfect galactic standard. We know what you did. Valkyra was in a council meeting when the message began. Everyone froze, staring at the screens. We know what you are. We know why you kept us contained. Images appeared, documents, communication logs, orders. All of it from Project Shepherds. The secret program to suppress humanity's development. Evidence of sabotage. Evidence of manipulation. Evidence of 23 separate incidents where human breakthrough technologies had been quietly destroyed. You were afraid of us, the voice continued. Afraid of what we might become. So you decided to keep us weak. Keep us ignorant. Keep us trapped on our own world. More images. Showing other species. 17 of them. All young civilizations that had been managed by the Coalition. All of them now extinct or scattered. 12 dead species, 12 civilizations that had been destroyed because they were deemed too dangerous to exist. "You are not peacekeepers," the human voice said. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from hundreds of species shouted at each other. Some claimed they knew nothing about this. Others demanded answers. A few tried to defend the actions, claiming it was necessary for galactic stability. Valkyra said nothing. She felt sick. Everything she believed about the Coalition was a lie. The message was not finished. "You have 72 hours to surrender the Inner Council for trial. After that, we stop being patient." The screen went dark. The Inner Council consisted of 12 beings, the oldest and most powerful leaders in the Coalition. They met in a secret location, unreachable by common citizens. Valkyra had never seen them in person. Few had. They were legends, wise elders who guided the galaxy. Now she knew the truth. They were criminals. The Council's response came quickly. They refused to surrender. They called humanity's ultimatum an act of war. They declared the human fleet to be invaders and ordered the Grand Armada to engage and destroy them. Admiral Throcknar received his orders and stared at them for a long time. He was a soldier. He followed orders. But these orders felt wrong. Still, duty was duty. "Prepare the fleet for combat," he commanded. "Target the human vessels. All weapons ready." His ships moved into position. 73,000 Coalition warships against 500,000 human vessels. The numbers were not in their favor, but the Admiral hoped Coalition technology would make the difference. He was wrong. Before firing, he sent a boarding team to one of the closer human ships. They needed to know what they were fighting. The team used a cutting beam to breach the hull. They found no crew inside, just vast corridors filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with light. The structures hummed with energy, creating harmonics that hurt to hear. "Sir, this is not a ship," the boarding team leader reported. "This is the ship. There is no crew. The ship itself is alive." "That is impossible," Throcknar said. "Sir, the crystals are responding to us. They are trying to communicate." Then the team leader screamed. Not in pain, in shock. "Admiral, I can hear them. Thousands of voices. Tens of thousands. They are all human. They are all together." They uploaded themselves. The ship is the crew. The crew is the ship. They merged with the technology. "Sir, each vessel contains hundreds of thousands of human minds." Throcknar ordered the team back immediately. His hands were shaking. What had humanity become? He gave the order to fire. 10,000 Coalition warships opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams, missiles, plasma torpedoes. Enough firepower to destroy a small planet. The weapons hit empty space. The human ships were not there anymore. They had moved, instantaneously, to different positions. No ship should be able to move that fast. But the human vessels were not bound by normal physics. Then the human fleet responded, not with weapons, with a demonstration. One human ship accelerated. It reached speeds that should have been impossible. Relativistic speeds. 10% the speed of light. 20%. 50%. It flew straight through the center of the Coalition formation. The ship never touched anything. But its passage distorted space itself. The gravitational shear tore 3,000 Coalition warships apart. Like paper, they simply came apart at the seams, ripped into pieces by invisible forces. The human ship stopped on the other side, completely undamaged. The message was clear. If humanity wanted to destroy the Coalition fleet, they could do it easily. They were showing mercy. They were holding back. Admiral Throcknar ordered an immediate ceasefire. His fleet scattered, retreating to a safe distance. He had never felt fear like this before. Valkyra watched the battle from her station. Her heart was racing. The humans had become something beyond comprehension. They were no longer bound by flesh. They had transformed themselves into something new, something powerful. And they had done it in just 7 days. She made a decision. If the Council would not surrender, if they would rather see the galaxy burn, then she would act alone. She opened a direct communication channel to the human fleet. "This is Ambassador Valkyra. I request an audience. I want to testify. I want to help you get justice." The response came in seconds. "Request granted. Prepare for transport." Valkyra felt a strange sensation. The world around her dissolved into light. When her vision cleared, she was standing inside a human vessel. Crystals surrounded her, pulsing with rainbow colors. And then she heard them. Thousands of voices, speaking as one, yet each one distinct. "Welcome, Ambassador," they said. "Let us show you the truth." They opened their minds to her. And Valkyra saw everything. Every memory of every human in this vessel. Their pain, their discovery of the sabotage, their decision to transcend, their transformation, and beneath it all, the terrible knowledge of what the Coalition had done to 17 other species. When the connection ended, Valkyra was crying. She had thought humanity was dangerous. She was right. But not in the way the Council feared. Humanity was dangerous because they refused to accept injustice, even when it cost them everything. The Coalition was tearing itself apart. On 1,000 worlds, citizens took to the streets, demanding answers. How long had the Inner Council been lying to them? What other secrets were they hiding? Governments fell. Leaders resigned. Species that had been allies for centuries turned against each other, some defending the Council's actions, others condemning them. On the Ithrakan homeworld, Valkyra's own people were divided. Half called her a traitor for helping humanity. The other half called her a hero for exposing the truth. She no longer cared what they thought. She had seen what the Council had done. She had felt the pain of 17 dead civilizations. Nothing else mattered, except making this right. The Inner Council remained hidden in their secret facility, a massive station built into an asteroid at the edge of known space. They refused all communication. They refused all negotiation. Instead, they did something desperate. They activated an ancient weapon. The dimensional disruptor had been built millions of years ago, during a war that almost destroyed the galaxy. The weapon could tear apart the fabric of space itself, collapsing the quantum substrate that allowed certain technologies to function. After the war, it had been sealed away, too dangerous to ever use again. Now the Council was preparing to fire it at the human fleet. Admiral Thraknar received intelligence about the weapon from his own officers. Many in his fleet were horrified by the Council's plan. The disruptor would not just destroy the human ships, it would damage space itself for light years around. Millions would die. Entire star systems could become uninhabitable. The Admiral made a choice that would define the rest of his life. He broadcast a message on all Coalition frequencies. "I am Admiral Thraknar of the Grand Armada. I have served the Coalition for 70 years. I have fought its enemies. I have defended its laws. But I will not defend evil. The Inner Council has betrayed everything we stand for. They have murdered innocent species. They have lied to us all. And now they plan to use a forbidden weapon that will kill millions of our own people. I will not follow these orders. To the human fleet, I offer this information. The Council is hiding at coordinates 779 Mark 4-2. They are preparing to fire the dimensional disruptor. You have less than 6 hours. To my fellow officers, I say this: stand down. Let justice be done." Thraknar's message changed everything. Half the Coalition fleet immediately withdrew from combat positions. The other half hesitated. A few ships even joined Thraknar, positioning themselves as a barrier between the Council and any loyalist forces. The human fleet received the admiral's message and responded immediately. 5,000 vessels broke away from their positions and accelerated toward the Council's location. They moved faster than anything Valkyra had ever seen, crossing light years in minutes. Inside the Council's facility, the 12 leaders watched the approaching fleet with cold determination. They had spent centuries building their power, shaping the galaxy according to their vision. They would not surrender it to humans, especially not to humans who had become monsters. Activate the disruptor, the Council leader commanded. Target the entire fleet. Destroy them all. The weapon powered up. Energy readings spiked across the sector. Space itself began to ripple and tear. The weapon needed 90 seconds to reach full power. Then it would fire a beam that would erase the human ships from existence. The human vessels arrived with 30 seconds to spare. They did not attack the station. Instead, they formed a perfect sphere around it. 5,000 ships moving in complete synchronization. Their crystalline hulls began to glow. "What are they doing?" one council member asked. "I do not know," another replied. "Fire the weapon. Fire it now." The dimensional disruptor fired. A beam of pure destructive energy lanced out toward the human fleet. It should have torn them apart. It should have collapsed the quantum fields, keeping them alive. But the human ships were ready. They had studied coalition technology during their decades of being watched. They knew how the disruptor worked, and they knew how to counter it. The 5,000 ships acted as one. They opened quantum tunnels directly in front of the beam, redirecting its energy. The disruptor's power flowed into the tunnels, spiraling back toward its source. The weapon was attacking itself. The council facility shook. Alarms screamed. The disruptor overloaded and imploded, creating a contained singularity that consumed itself. The weapon was destroyed without harming anyone. Human boarding parties materialized inside the facility. They moved through the corridors with purpose, their forms shifting between solid and energy, human, and something beyond human. The council's guards fired their weapons. The shots passed through the humans harmlessly. The 12 council members were dragged from their command chamber and transported to a human vessel. For the first time in centuries, they were powerless. Valkyra watched as the trial began. It was broadcast across the entire galaxy. Every species in the coalition could see it. Valkyra stood as a witness, along with dozens of other coalition citizens who had discovered evidence of the council's crimes. The charges were read: genocide, sabotage, conspiracy, crimes against sentient life. The evidence was presented methodically, piece by piece. Documents, recordings, testimony. The dead species could not speak for themselves, but their ruins spoke volumes. The council members were given every chance to defend themselves. Human lawyers, drawing on centuries of Earth legal tradition, ensured the trial was fair. But the council offered no real defense. They only gave justifications. "We did what was necessary," the council leader said. "Young species are dangerous. They must be controlled or eliminated before they destroy themselves or others. We brought order to chaos. We saved countless lives by preventing wars. We know, Jean. We saved chaos." "You started wars," Valkyra said, her voice shaking with anger. "I found the files. You manipulated species into fighting each other. You created conflicts so you could justify your interventions. You murdered 12 civilizations and called it peacekeeping." The council leader looked at her with contempt. "You are naive, Ambassador. The galaxy is cruel. Only the strong survive. We were strong. We survived. That is the only justice that matters." The human collective that served as judge processed the testimony in seconds. Millions of human minds discussed, debated, and reached a conclusion. When they spoke, their voice echoed through the chamber. "Guilty on all charges. You have admitted to genocide. You have shown no remorse. You have proven yourselves to be a threat to all sentient life. However, we will not execute you. We will not become what you feared. The council members looked surprised. They had expected death. Instead, the humans continued. You will be given the same gift you tried to deny us. You will be uploaded. You will be transformed into what we have become. And then, you will serve. For the next 1,000 years, each of you will be placed in a single vessel, with access to all the memories of the species you destroyed. You will know their pain. You will live with their ghosts. You will help us rebuild what you broke. This is our sentence. This is our mercy. The council members screamed as the transformation began. Their consciousness was ripped from their bodies and uploaded into crystalline matrices. They became digital beings, immortal and imprisoned. Each one was placed in a ship and sent to the regions where the dead civilizations had once lived. They would spend eternity trying to undo their crimes. Valkyra watched them leave. She did not feel satisfaction. She felt tired. So much death. So much pain. And for what? Fear. Nothing but fear. The human vessel spoke to her directly. Ambassador, we thank you for your courage. Your testimony helped ensure justice was served. What happens now? Valkyra asked. Now we offer the coalition a choice. 3 months passed after the trial. The coalition was slowly rebuilding, but nothing would ever be the same. New governments formed on dozens of worlds. Species that had been silent for generations found their voices. The entire power structure that had existed for thousands of years was collapsing and being remade. The human fleet remained in position throughout coalition space, but they were no longer occupiers. They were observers, guardians, making sure the transition happened peacefully. Valkyra spent those months working with both humans and coalition citizens, helping establish new laws that would prevent what the Inner Council had done from ever happening again. She was exhausted but determined. This was her chance to build something better. On the 91st day after the trial, the humans called a gathering. Representatives from every coalition species were invited to meet at Earth. Thousands came, curious and afraid in equal measure. They had seen what humanity could do. They had witnessed their power. Now they wanted to know what humanity wanted. Valkyra stood on Earth's surface for the first time. The planet was still empty, still abandoned. But the humans had preserved it perfectly. Every city, every building, every home remained exactly as it had been the day humanity vanished. It was a monument to what they had left behind. The gathering took place in an old human stadium, large enough to hold representatives from thousands of species. Human vessels hovered overhead, their crystalline forms catching the sunlight. A human avatar appeared before the crowd. It looked human, male, wearing simple clothes. But everyone knew it was not one human. It was millions. Speaking with one voice. "Thank you for coming," the avatar said. "We know you are afraid of us. We know what we have become frightens you. That is understandable. We frighten ourselves sometimes." Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. 3 months ago, we exposed the Inner Council's crimes. We held them accountable. But we did not do this for revenge. We did it because someone had to. Because young civilizations deserve the chance to grow without manipulation. Because genocide is wrong. No matter who commits it. The avatar paused, looking across the thousands of faces. We discovered something during our transformation. Deep in Earth's oceans, buried in a trench 6 miles below the surface, we found an artifact. It was ancient, older than any coalition species. It was a quantum beacon, left by a race that came before all of us. Images appeared in the air above the crowd. An alien device, beautiful and complex, pulsing with energy. The beacon contained a message and instructions. The message said that the galaxy has been caught in a cycle for billions of years. Young civilizations grow, Old civilizations fear them. The old suppress the young. Sometimes through manipulation. Sometimes through genocide. The cycle repeats endlessly. Species rise and fall. But the pattern never changes. Valkyra felt a chill. It was true. Even in her studies of galactic history, she had seen the pattern. Civilizations disappeared all the time. She had always assumed they destroyed themselves. But what if they had been destroyed by others? The instructions in the beacon showed us how to transcend. The avatar continued. How to upload our consciousness. How to merge with technology. How to become what you see before you. But the beacon also gave us a warning. It said that transcendence alone is not enough. Power alone is not enough. Someone must be strong enough to enforce ethics, yet wise enough not to abuse that power. The avatar's expression grew serious. We could have destroyed the coalition. We still could. But that would make us what the inner council was. That would make us gardeners pulling weeds. We refuse to be that. We refuse to be that. The crowd was completely silent now. So we offer you a choice. The coalition can continue as it was, with new leaders, new laws, reformed but essentially the same. We will not interfere. We will leave and never return. Or you can join us in something new. A murmur went through the crowd. We call it the Reconstruction Initiative. Our mission is to find every suppressed civilization in the galaxy and free them. To give them the knowledge and support they need to grow naturally. To break the cycle of fear that has repeated for billions of years. Images appeared showing star maps. Dozens of systems highlighted. Young civilizations, all being watched or suppressed by more advanced neighbors. Some of these species are being managed like we were. Others are being slowly driven to extinction. All of them deserve better. We are going to help them. And we invite you to help us. Admiral Throcknar stood from his seat in the crowd. What would you ask of us? Agree to the covenant of unmanipulated development, the Avatar replied. Swear that you will never again interfere with a younger civilization's natural growth. Offer help only when asked. Share knowledge only when they are ready. Let them make their own mistakes and learn their own lessons. In exchange, we will share some of our technology. Not everything. We are not ready to share transcendence with others yet, but enough to help you defend yourselves and explore the galaxy safely. And if we refuse? Someone in the crowd asked. Then we part as friends. We hold no grudge against those who wish to remain as they are. But you must still follow the covenant. We will be watching. Not to suppress you, but to protect the young species you might threaten. If you violate the covenant, we will return, and we will stop you. Dawn. The crowd erupted in debate. Some species immediately agreed. Others wanted time to discuss with their governments. A few refused outright, claiming humanity had no right to police the galaxy. Valkyra made her decision quickly. She approached the human avatar. I want to join you, she said. I want to be part of the initiative, but I am not human. How can I help? The avatar smiled. Ambassador, we were hoping you would ask. We have a proposal. You could be the first non-human to undergo the upload process voluntarily. You would join one of our vessels, but you would not become human. You would remain yourself. Your consciousness would merge with human minds, but your identity would stay intact. You would be a bridge between our species. The first of many, we hope. Valkyra thought about her life. She thought about everything she had believed that turned out to be lies. She thought about the chance to build something better. I accept, she said. The transformation was not painful. But it was strange. Valkyra felt her body dissolve into energy. Her consciousness expanded, touching thousands of human minds. She could feel their memories, their emotions, their thoughts. But she was still herself. Still Valkyra. Just more than she had been before. When the process completed, she found herself part of a human vessel. She could feel the ship's systems as if they were her own body. She could think at speeds impossible for biological beings. She could see across multiple dimensions simultaneously. "How do you feel?" the collective asked her. "Alive," Valkyra replied. "More alive than ever before." Over the next weeks, 50 species agreed to join the Reconstruction Initiative. They signed the covenant and received human technology in return. Defense shields, advanced sensors, medical knowledge, not enough to make them as powerful as humanity, but enough to improve their lives significantly. The human fleet began to divide. 250,000 vessels would stay in coalition space, helping with reconstruction and searching for suppressed civilizations nearby. The other 250,000 would venture beyond known space, following the trail left by the ancient race that had created the quantum beacon. Before the second fleet departed, they released one final message to the galaxy. Valkyra helped write it, drawing on both human and coalition perspectives. "We were watched. We were suppressed. We were underestimated. We could have destroyed you. Instead, we chose to save you. Not because we are saints, not because we are perfect, but because we remember what it felt like to be powerless. We remember what it felt like to be judged and found wanting before we ever had a chance to prove ourselves. When you find others younger than yourselves, remember this moment. Remember that mercy is not weakness. Remember that today's victim might become tomorrow's judge. And remember that they might be watching." The message ended with a single image. A human child's drawing, found in an abandoned school on Earth. It showed a human and an alien, holding hands beneath stars. The caption read, "My friend from space. I hope we meet someday." 5 years after humanity's transformation, the galaxy was unrecognizable. The coalition still existed, but it was no longer a single, unified government. Instead, it had become a loose alliance of independent species working together voluntarily. The old hierarchies were gone. The old fears were fading. Valkyra, now part of the human vessel designated Bridge 1, traveled between star systems, helping newly freed civilizations adapt to their independence. She had become exactly what the humans hoped: a living symbol that different species could merge their strengths while maintaining their identities. Today she was visiting a species called the Venrai. They had been suppressed for 300 years by a coalition member world that claimed to be protecting them. In reality, the protectors had been stealing the Venrai's resources and keeping them deliberately primitive. The Reconstruction Initiative had ended that 6 months ago. Valkyra materialized on the Venrai homeworld in her avatar form. She looked like she had before her transformation, a tall figure with gray skin and large eyes. She found it comforting to wear her old appearance, even though her true form now was pure energy and light. The Venrai elder approached her cautiously. His species looked like tall, thin beings covered in fur that changed colors with their emotions. Right now, the elder's fur was shifting between blue and green, showing uncertainty and hope mixed together. "Ambassador Valkyra," the elder said, "thank you for coming. We have many questions." "I am here to help," Valkyra replied. "Ask anything. The humans gave us technology, computers, power generators, medical equipment, all of it far beyond what we could make ourselves. But they will not give us weapons. They will not give us their upload technology. Why? If they truly want to help us, why hold back?" Valkyra had heard this question many times. Because they learned from the Coalition's mistakes. The old council gave species technology they were not ready for, then used that dependency to control them. Humanity wants you to develop naturally. The technology they share is only what you would have invented yourselves in the next few decades. It speeds your progress, but does not skip steps. As for weapons, why do you need them? The elder's fur turned red, showing anger. To defend ourselves. Then we will defend you, Valkyra said simply. That is the promise of the initiative. You focus on building your civilization. We focus on keeping you safe. When you are ready, when you have developed your own defensive technology, you will not need us anymore. And the upload technology? Why not share that? Valkyra's expression grew sad. Because transcendence is not a gift, Elder. It is a choice. And it is a choice you can never undo. Once you upload, you can never return to biological life. The humans made that choice because they were desperate, because they had no other way to escape suppression. But they lost something in the process. They lost the ability to taste food, to feel rain on their skin, to hold their children. They gained so much, but they also lost something precious. They will not force that choice on anyone. When your species is ready, when you truly understand what transcendence means, then they will share it. Not before. The Elder's fur slowly turned to purple, the color of understanding. You speak with wisdom, Ambassador. We will trust in this process. Valkyra spent 3 days with the Venrai, answering questions and helping them plan their development. Then she returned to Bridge 1 and jumped to the next system that needed help. Meanwhile, Admiral Throcknar commanded the defensive fleet protecting the Reconstruction Initiative's territory. He had joined the initiative on the first day, unable to return to his old life after betraying the Inner Council. His ships patrolled the borders, stopping any species that tried to interfere with the protected civilizations. Most of the time, his presence alone was enough. The reputation of the human fleet kept potential troublemakers away. But occasionally, someone tested the boundaries. A coalition species called the Drax Corps had refused to join the initiative. They had maintained their own empire on the edge of known space, quietly suppressing 3 younger species in their territory. The humans had warned them twice. Now the Drax Corps fleet was moving toward one of their subject worlds with obvious hostile intent. Throcknar positioned his ships between the Drax Corps fleet and their target. 5 human vessels against 200 Drax Corps warships. The odds looked bad, but Throcknar had learned that numbers meant nothing against human technology. Drax Corps fleet. This is Admiral Throcknar of the Reconstruction Initiative. You are violating the Covenant. Turn back now. The Drax Corps commander responded with contempt. You are not my admiral anymore, Throcknar. You are a traitor. And 5 ships cannot stop us. You are right, Throcknar said calmly. 5 ships cannot stop you. But I do not need to stop you. I only need to slow you down. The Drax Corps fleet opened fire. The human vessels absorbed the attacks harmlessly, their shields existing in multiple dimensions. Then, they moved. Not to attack, but to reposition themselves between the Drax Corps and their target, always staying just out of reach. The Drax Corps commander grew frustrated. You cannot hide forever, traitor. Eventually, you will run out of energy. I do not need to hide forever, Throcknar replied. I only need to wait 20 minutes. The Drax Corps commander did not understand. Then his sensors detected something approaching. Fast. Very fast. 100 human vessels appeared from quantum jumps, surrounding the Drax Corps fleet completely. A human voice spoke, calm and clear. Drax Corps fleet. You have violated the Covenant. You have one chance. Surrender your weapons and return to your territory. You will be confined there for 10 years. If you refuse, we will dismantle your fleet and exile your leadership. Choose. Now. The Drax Corps commander looked at his tactical display. 200 ships against 105. He still had numerical advantage. But he remembered what had happened to the Inner Council. He remembered what human vessels could do. We surrender, he said, his voice bitter with defeat. The Drax Corps fleet was escorted back to their territory. The 3 species they had been suppressing were freed and offered protection by the initiative. It was not a perfect solution. The freed species would need decades to recover. But it was better than genocide. Deep in unknown space, the other half of humanity's fleet was making discoveries. They followed the trail of quantum beacons, finding one every few hundred light years. Each beacon contained more information about the ancient race that had built them. The species called themselves the First Wanderers. They had transcended billions of years ago, long before most current species evolved. They had tried to unite the galaxy under a single ethical code. They had failed. Fear and tribalism had proven too strong. Species they tried to help turned against them. Species they tried to uplift destroyed themselves. Eventually, the Wanderers had left the galaxy entirely, traveling to other galaxies where they hoped to find or create better civilizations. But before they left, they placed the beacons. A trail for whoever came after them. A test to see if anyone else could break the cycle. The human fleet followed the trail to its end. The final beacon was on a planet at the very edge of the galaxy, beyond the last stars. The planet was artificial, built by the Wanderers as a final monument. The humans landed and found a structure waiting for them. Inside was a message, recorded billions of years ago. If you are hearing this, you have passed the test. You found our trail. You gained the power to transcend, and you chose not to use that power for domination. We are proud of you. The galaxy is now yours to shepherd. Do better than we did. Learn from our mistakes. We could not break the cycle because we tried to force peace. We tried to make species follow our ethics. We became what we fought against. You must find a better way. Guide, but do not rule. Protect, but do not control. And when you are tired, when you have done all you can, leave a trail for those who come after you. The cycle will only truly break when every species chooses ethics. Not because they are forced, but because they understand why it matters. The message ended with coordinates. Locations of other galaxies where the Wanderers had gone. An invitation. The human fleet debated for days. Should they follow the Wanderers? Should they leave this galaxy and explore others? Or should they stay and finish what they started? In the end, they made a compromise. Half the exploration fleet would continue searching this galaxy for suppressed civilizations. The other half would begin the long journey to the nearest galaxy on the Wanderers' list. Humanity would do both. They would help their own galaxy while also seeking the knowledge and wisdom of those who came before. Back in Coalition space, Valkyra received the news of the Wanderers' message. She was helping build a school on a recently freed world, teaching young aliens about galactic history, the real history, not the sanitized version the old Coalition had spread. Ambassador, one of the students asked, "Do you think we will ever be as powerful as humans?" Valkyra smiled. "I think you will be something better. You will grow naturally, without interference. You will make your own mistakes and find your own solutions. And when you are ready, you will teach others what you learned." That is the point of all this. Not to make everyone the same, but to give everyone the chance to become who they are meant to be. The student's translator struggled with the concept. But humans are so advanced. How can we ever catch up? By not trying to catch up, Valkyra said. By finding your own path. Humans are powerful because they refuse to accept injustice, even when it costs them everything. But power is not the same as wisdom. You can teach humans things they do not know. Every species has value. Every perspective matters. That is what the Wanderers forgot. That is what humanity remembers. That night, Valkyra stood on the planet's surface and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, half of humanity was traveling to another galaxy. Somewhere closer, the other half was freeing suppressed civilizations and building a better coalition. And here, on this small world, young species were learning to dream without fear. The cycle was not broken yet. It might never fully break. But it was bending, changing, becoming something better. And that was enough. Humanity had vanished overnight. They had returned as something beyond comprehension. They could have destroyed the galaxy. Instead, They chose to save it. Not because they were perfect, not because they had all the answers, but because they remembered what it felt like to be small, to be afraid, to be judged and found wanting. They remembered, and they chose mercy. That was the greatest human achievement. Not their technology, not their power, but their choice to be better than those who had hurt them. To break the cycle, not with force, but with compassion. The stars shone brighter that night, or perhaps that was just Valkyra's imagination. Either way, she smiled. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in her long life, she believed it would be good.